Representative Manuel Zubiri for the interpellation.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Welcome po sa inyo mga kalakbay-aral. Ating pong panoorin at pakinggan ang mga payo ng WHO tungkol sa usapin na kung kailangan na bang i-lockdown ang Metro Manila o ang buong NCR. Narito po ang kanilang pag-uusap. Panoorin po natin, guys.
Manuel Zubiri for the interpellation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Marami pong salamat. Of course, I will let our hardworking secretary relax for a while. May I address the question to Dr. Rabi? Dr. Rabi, good afternoon. Looking at the figures here in your slide, Dr. Rabi, your presentation, you have most of them in the NCR and maybe a few in Cavite, which I consider Greater Manila area. Now, I come from the province. My concern is that do we have any cases outside, for example, Region 10, Region 11, Region 12? The problem is, looking at these figures, we're very concentrated now. 33 cases are only in the NCR and maybe a few Greater Manila area in Cavite. Are you convinced that we only have 33 cases right now to date? Because looking at the figures from other countries, if I may, in, for example, Korea, one day, 800. It jumps 800 cases in one day. Spain, about 560 plus cases in Spain. How are we doing our testing compared to theirs? Or are they testing more than us? Of course, I think that's obvious. And how are we doing it compared to all these other countries, Italy, Korea, Spain? Because I see the numbers jumping every day by the hundreds, Dr. Rabi.
Thank you very much. The question, you have been doing very well initially. Our Director General acknowledged that the Philippines was for many days without any cases during the early first with the lockdown. But of course, as we had predicted, the threat was always there that the outbreak would spread. And the confirmation of the presence of cases here in the capital district in the first place was evidence of that. Now, the way we go about determining the spread is trying to follow up contacts of those cases. And this is done through a clearly defined algorithm that the Department of Health has developed. And these have been shared with all of the RESUs in the regions. And so if there's a contact history or a travel history, people are subjected to this evaluation to determine whether they need to be tested. I want to reiterate that we cannot expand testing capacity at this point of time because globally, we are dealing with a shortage of testing materials. So many countries are doing testing based on the capacity of their laboratory systems and expertise levels that they have. So for example, in China, they had the capacity and the number of laboratories that could rapidly scale up. The same applies to South Korea and partly to Italy. You've heard earlier in the day that we are trying to expand capacity here in the Philippines. Right now, you have one designated laboratory, the RITM. Having said that, we also need to recognize that the protocols need to be followed so that we do a risk assessment before testing. Because if I'm correct, I remember the Secretary saying the cost of one test is 6,000 pesos. So this has to be carefully evaluated and decided. If you look at the spread of the disease, whether it's China, in South Korea, or in Italy, there seems a concentration of cases around a geographic location. So in Korea, it's Daegu and northern Gyeongsang province. In Italy, it's around Milan and the northern provinces. In China, it was Wuhan and Hubei province. So the fact that we are seeing cases in NCR does not exclude the fact that maybe there are cases in Bukidnon or Mindanao. We cannot be 100% sure, but the nature of this disease, the way it spread is through close contact. So you need to have contacts who are taking the virus to other people. The other point in your favor is that you are an island archipelago. So you are geographically isolated because you have Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao, and so the likelihood of easy spread is limited from a geographical perspective. Having said that, I know that the Filipino population travels a lot. So we need to be aware that the virus can be taken by contacts to other places. So that is why it's important, and we keep re-emphasizing the fact that you need to practice hand hygiene, social distancing, and cough etiquette to minimize the possibility of spread. At this point of time, we cannot 100% confirm that there is no disease outside of NCR, but many factors are favoring the fact that what we have is a localized outbreak.
Mr. Rabi, Dr. Rabi, if you may, just to understand my trend of thought, no? If we do contain NCR, because we're working very hard to contain the cases in the NCR, but if there are outbreaks, especially, for example, in IP communities, because IPs are very communal, and they do things together, and we have millions of them. What happens if we get hit out there and we're contained in the NCR? So we're back to square one again. So I don't know what type of testing we're doing outside the NCR, Secretary, but I think it's best that we do on entry, for example, because our borders are very porous, seaports, airports, they haven't stopped traveling. I've been going back and forth from my province, and you still have flights that are full. So I suggest that we do some sort of a on-the-spot testing in airports and seaports to determine and to make sure that we're quite proactive in our testing, since we cannot test outside the NCR as much as we're doing in the NCR. That's my suggestion, Secretary. And of course, with the RITM, since you're the only one, ma'am, you're facing a big task kasi we're 106, more or less 107 million Filipinos looking at you to help us, no? And also the other hospitals attached to the RITM. I suggest that we do have dedicated workforce and dedicated facilities outside the NCR to help support just in case, because it's quite difficult. I do want to believe that we don't have any cases outside, but looking at the figures compared to what's going on around the world, 33 cases, and you have a lot of by the...
Yan po mga kaibigan, napakinggan po natin kung anong pahayag ng Director ng WHO. Isang payo lang pong i-advise ko sa inyo, wag ko kayong pumunta sa mga air condition, lalong-lalo na yung mga air condition na lugar. Kasi doon talaga, doon sa area na yun, doon nabubuhay ang mga virus kasi malamig nga yung ano. Iwasan natin ang airport, mga mall, yan. Dahil sa malamig yung klima sa loob ng mga mall at saka sa mga airport, doon, madaling mabuhay doon yung mga virus. Hindi sila namamatay doon sa mga area na ganun. Kaya, konting ingat lang po tayo. Salamat po muli sa inyong panonood. Huwag niyo pong kalimutang subscribe, i-like, at mag-comment po sa baba ng ating video nito para sa susunod nating mga video. Maraming salamat po. Hanggang sa muli, mga kalakbay aral.